The DC Universe takes the lead when it comes to the brutal deaths of our favorite heroes or villains. Black Adam marked the beginning of the DC Universe's rebuilding process, and while some of the film's brutal killing scenes will give you the chills, other DC Universe films also contain these scenes, such as the Suicide Squad. The top 10 most brutal DCEU kills will be covered in this video. Starting us off, we have Sivana's assistant, Lynn Crosby's death, and the magic door in Shazam movie. Shazam director David S. Sandberg's background in the horror genre is evident because the film centers on the 7 deadly sins, which are largely unpleasant. Lynn Crosby worked as a scientist at Sivana Industries, which Thaddeus Sivana sponsored. They interviewed many people who had been asked by the Wizard to be his champion, but had all fallen short. Under the pretense of researching Dr. Lynn's mass hysteria, Sivana sought to learn how to call upon the Rock of Eternity. Sivana broke the code after a recent interview and seeing the video the woman captured showing the symbols appearing on her alarm clock 7 times. He was allowed to enter the Rock of Eternity after writing the symbols on his old door 7 times when he was a child. He tried to convince Dr. Crosby that the tales the individuals had told were authentic, and that the symbols they had used were real, but she remained skeptical and thought it was all a joke. A sacrifice is required when Sivana creates the symbols necessary to transform a door into the gateway he wants. When Sivana's assistant taps the door in disbelief at the magic, she offers just that. She screams in pain as she is burned to ashes, and the door kills her at that point. Shazam had generally been a pleasant and endearing superhero movie, even though it wasn't the harshest offering from the DCU, but this scene lets the viewer know that the villains are deadly foes. Sivana's father, killed by greed from the same Shazam film, is ranked 9th on the list. Sivana's father was undoubtedly a horrible individual, but even though it all took place off screen, his murder at the hands of greed was twisting and horrifying. Thaddeus targets his father, who was holding a board meeting when he arrived after acquiring the power of the 7 deadly sins. Uninvited and crashing in, Thaddeus approaches his father and sibling to get vengeance for the abuse in his early years. Thaddeus then calls the sins and they brutally slaughter every person present, starting with Sid, who was tossed out of the window. After learning that the Wizard has selected his champion, he confronts his father, who is now trembling in dread and pleading for his life via offerings of money and control of his company. However, he decides to leave the meeting room after allowing the sin of greed to kill Mr. Sivana by disembowelment. Because the man cannot move owing to his wheelchair, greed soon tackles and tears him apart with its hands. Mortal Kombat 11's fatality was startlingly similar to this one, released the same year. A kill is considered horrible in the best way imaginable if it can be linked to a Mortal Kombat fatality. Next, we have an intergang mercenary's shocking demise in Black Adam. Black Adam's brutality is appealing. The strong godlike Teth Adam immediately reveals his evil side. After being revived in the present, when an intergang mercenary tries to take advantage of him, Adam grabs him by the neck and sends lightning rushing through his body, startlingly killing him. The man is burned to death until he is a charred skeleton. Therefore, it's remarkable that this death was permitted in a PG-13 version of Black Adam. Adam snaps the skull off with his thumb, starting a massive massacre of several intergang members. There is a thrill in seeing him bulldoze through formidable foes like they are nothing. Then we have when Black Adam defeated and killed Sabak in the Black Adam movie. Another massacre like this would not be out of place in Mortal Kombat when Black Adam vanquishes Sabak, the main antagonist. Teth Adam and Sabak are equal in the Black Adam film because they are champions of the most powerful magical creatures in the universe. However, Teth Adam can defeat the bad guy with Hawkman by his side. Hawkman distracts Sabak by projecting replicas of himself from Dr. Fate's helmet, allowing Teth Adam to seize the villain, electrocute him, and eventually rip him in half. Yes, it is just as gory as it sounds, yet it is also really lovely. He successfully utilizes his catchphrase and splits Sabak in half by using his tremendous power to rip him apart. The death is slightly less visceral in the finished movie since Sabak's blood is shown as a lava-like liquid. It wouldn't be shocking if one of the early cuts for this death had true blood and gore. By performing the act, Adam demonstrates that despite being an anti-hero, he has no qualms about murdering his foes, especially terrible demonic spirits. 6th on the list was the death of Rick Flag in the Suicide Squad, released in 2021. In the opinion of Screen Rant, one of the saddest moments in the film is Rick Flag's death. Nobody was safe in the Suicide Squad, including one of the main characters, Rick Flag. With his death, Suicide Squad director James Gunn made that clear to everyone. Rick Flag had had just recently learned the reality of Project Starfish. He'd discovered that the covert experiment supported by the United States had caused terrible damage worldwide. He wanted to bring the project to light and hold those responsible accountable. A grueling conflict between the two troops occurred due to Flag's altruism and Peacemaker's role as Amanda Waller's blind servant. Sadly, Peacemaker uses a piece of china to stab Rick through the heart, ending the fight. The movie conveys to the audience that Flag won't make it through this gruesome experience, as there is even a brief sight of the heart from inside Flag's chest being impaled. It was an effective approach for the filmmakers to have audiences dislike Peacemaker immediately. Next is when Batman uses a grapple launcher in Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. Ben Affleck's Batman was not the vigilante he once was when viewers first encountered him, and that change is evident in the brutality with which he defends Martha from KG Beast and his troops. In his ongoing battle against crime, Batman employs a variety of tools and weapons, but his hallmark weapon is the grappling gun. There are a lot of bloody killings in the warehouse battle in Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, but only one of them tops another. Batman pushes a large wooden container straight at 3 mercenaries using his grappling launcher. One is unfortunate enough to be struck, and it is pretty evident that his head strikes the wall in a particularly brutal way. It was unexpected to see Batman look so grim, even if no one would lose sleep over the death of a guy who was hired to murder an innocent lady. Regardless of one's opinion of Affleck's Batman script, there is no denying that this Batman was the finest fighter to date. It was amazing to see Batman destroy KG Beast's entire army of mercenaries. The battle, usage of gadgets, and cruelty gave the sequence the appearance and feel of a live-action fight from the Batman Arkham games. Fans wanted Affleck to have his spin-off so they could see more fight scenes like this. Next is Peacemaker's impressive kill in the 2021 Suicide Squad. When Bloodsport and Peacemaker demonstrate their efficiency in ruthlessly murdering people, they elevate the concept of one shot, one kill to a new level. The Peacemaker nonchalantly fires his weapon at a man standing behind him without even turning to look as he stops his little game. A few seconds later, it becomes clear that the killing is even more gruesome since he doesn't only shoot him, the bullet is also explosive. Even though it turned out that the individual was one of the good guys, Peacemaker is a terrible person. Peacemaker's explosive compression bullets first behave like regular rounds and are described by their owners as dope AF. He fires them with an absurdly long silver rifle that matches his toilet seat helmet and is made of silver. It can appear that a shot is non-lethal depending on where the bullet lands, but the person explodes in a matter of seconds from a common curable wound. Although using this weapon unquestionably resulted in the death of an ally and Bloodsport's admission that it was worth flaunting, and even admitting that it was amazing in its savagery, Peacemaker utilizes it only for gloating. Then we have Steppenwolf's fury toward an Atlantean in 2021 Zack Snyder's Justice League. Despite Darkseid's increased presence in the Snyder edit, Steppenwolf remains the movie's main antagonist. He battles the other characters via his actions and nearly completes his goal of opening the Mother's boxes. He also conflicts with several species, including the Amazons and Atlanteans, defeating them in battle and giving everyone cause for concern about the Justice League. Making Steppenwolf into a menacing antagonist was one of Zack Snyder's Justice League's greatest changes. One of the best examples is when he questions an Atlantean soldier to learn more about the Mother Box of Atlantis. Steppenwolf beats the Atlantean with a club without wasting any time before hurling him directly against a boulder, causing his head to split apart. As seen by savage killings like this, Steppenwolf is not simply some gigantic monologuing bad guy. He backs up his bark with a bite. Finally, the top 2 brutal kills in the DCU on this list, and coming in second is the King Shark attack in the 2021 Suicide Squad. While King Shark executes this kill far more brutally than Sabak did in Black Adam, they are not all that dissimilar. Because the movie is rated R, all the gore is presented in an absurd but amusing way. He doesn't just tear the Corto Maltese soldier apart, instead, he digs his hands into his stomach before pulling him apart. It's funny how King Shark, one of Task Force X's friendliest and most endearing members, turns out to be responsible for some of the movie's most gruesome killings. The most brutal kill that tops this list is the death of Starro in the 2021 Suicide Squad. When it came to Starro the Conqueror's death in the Suicide Squad, nobody knew what to anticipate, but they most definitely didn't anticipate what they received. By sending hordes of rats to ascend Starro and consume him, Ratcatcher demonstrates that she is the most powerful person person in the group. The rats even start to gnaw and tear at Starro's insides as Harley Quinn uses the javelin she has been clutching to impale his enormous eye, allowing her and the rats to swim in his watery humor. The equivalent of this would be for a human to be swarmed and killed by hordes of ants, who would then devour the victim until they died, which would be a gruesome and horrible way to go. So that's it, my friends. You should know that the DC Universe is rebuilding its franchise, and more brutal killings will occur as more movies are released. Do you know of any brutal deaths that should have made this list? Let's hear your comments in the section below. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to subscribe to this channel for updates. We'll see you in the next one.